Welcome to Stitchery Stories, where textile artists share their life in fabric and thread, inspiration, techniques, disasters and delights. And I'm Susan Reeks, enthusiastic embroiderer and textile art dabbler who also loves podcasting. So take a break and enjoy our light-hearted chat, and please share with your friends so they can enjoy it too. Hello and welcome today to our lovely guest, Jayne Emerson. Hi Jayne.
Hi Sue.
It's lovely to speak to you today, Jayne. Now, Jayne is one of those brave souls who actually sent me an email, which I was really, really chuffed about. So anybody, if you fancy being a guest, please email me. It's hello@stitcherystories.com. Seriously, I love hearing from people who want to be a guest. And do you know what? It makes my life just that little bit easier. Now then, so I've got a bio for Jayne here. Jayne Emerson is a practicing textile designer, author and tutor based in North Gloucestershire. For the past 20 years, Jayne has created innovative fabric samples that explore the boundaries of modern embroidery, patchwork, fabric manipulation and needle felting. Her samples have sold to a wide range of clients that include Chanel, Calvin Klein, Nina Ricci, I always get that wrong, Louis Vuitton, Dior, Balenciaga, as well as John Lewis Home, Topshop, Marks and Spencer's and Bowden. She trained at Loughborough College of Art, graduating with a first-class honours degree in multimedia textiles before completing her master's in fashion at Central St Martin's. Since then, her work has taken a wide-ranging path that has allowed her to express her creativity from craft through to couture. Jayne's studio in Gloucestershire is a treasure trove of vintage fabrics collected over many years of scouring flea markets, charity shops and boot sales. She has an extensive library of sewing books that fuel her reinventions of traditional techniques, which she then combines together to make her fabric recipes. Her creative process will often start with an unusual or inspiring fabric, which is then rendered unrecognisable from its original state. She works intuitively and thrives on happy accidents. Her workshops encourage experimentation, mess making. Nothing is ever precise, and rarely is a way of working considered wrong. Jayne taught Kirsty Alsop how to needle felt on her show Kirsty's Handmade Britain, and is one of her craft experts at her annual Handmade Fair. And she is the author of 6 books: Simply Felt with Margaret Docherty, The Impatient Patchworker, The Impatient Embroiderer, New from Old, Simply Needle Felt, and Boho Felt Crafts with Rachel Henderson. Oh, phew. So that's Jayne.
Sorry, that was a bit long.
No, well, you had a lot to say, so that's great. Now, the best place to find Jayne is on her website, and that's jayneemerson.co.uk, and it's Jayne with a Y. Obviously, the links will all be in the show notes. And she's also busy on Facebook and on Instagram. So, and you should all know by now, I like stalking people on Instagram. So get yourself on Instagram as well, and then I can stalk you and ask you to be a guest. So there we are. I'm just getting into the swing of it all because obviously I've had a summer break. Right then, so before we get started with your Stitchery story today, Jayne, would you like to share with us what you're working on and what's got you excited?
Hi. As you can tell by my bio, sort of lead quite a double life, which is kind of designing for fashion, as well as a lot of craft workshops, which I'm trying to sort of fuse more together at the moment. I'm currently working on a collection for my agent, which is of autumn winter designs that's going to New York. It's quite secretive, that side of the work. So I can never really show it on Instagram or anything, because obviously whoever buys the design buys the copyright. So I have to be quite careful. And for years, I've kept it quite separate and very much taught simple basic sewing, introductions to needle felting and patchwork and how to break all the rules of them. Yes. But recently I've been getting quite excited because I've been teaching more techniques that I've used from my archives of selling textiles. Right. And that's been really exciting. So I'm doing a lot of workshops on kind of experimental patchwork and experimental water solubles. I recently just did something for the Embroiderers Guild. I did a summer school, and it's teaching people who are very, very talented how to break the rules and mess make. Apparently we had the messiest workshop.
Excellent. Well, that can be very freeing though, can't it?
Yeah, it can. can, and it's
cast
lovely.
what you know aside and try and, as you say, break all the rules. And that is a really interesting point about when you are working in different industries, particularly with the fashion. I've had a couple of guests as well who've worked in fashion, and I'll say the same thing. It's nice, but it can be frustrating because you can't really share what you've done because ultimately it's not going to be yours anymore. But
it's not got your name on it. You've just sold the idea. But I love the way that I'm just making ideas, seeds of ideas, and I can just churn them out because I'm incredibly impatient. And and also like I'll be making one thing and it'll run to another idea, and that's another thing that I've been doing in my workshops recently, just getting rid of that thing that it has to be something.
Yes.
And just kind of do it for the therapeutic process of just getting lost in techniques and letting the fabric do its own thing. Not thinking this has to be this. And just playing, so that's
How
really
lovely.
wonderful.
And what I wanted to share with everybody as well is if you go onto Jayne's website, so that's jayneemerson.co.uk, there's a really brilliant video on there, which is about 5 minutes or something, isn't it, Jayne? And it shows Jayne in her studio, beavering away, cutting things up and sewing them and cutting them up again and sewing them. It's just wonderful. So if you're intrigued as to what Jayne's actually getting up to, then I think that video is an excellent way to explain that. Yeah, I could imagine workshops based around those ideas. And as you say, digging things out that you've done, in the past, you can alter and change, can't you?
Yeah, exactly. I think that it was
reuse them, upcycle your previous work. Good idea.
Yes. It was that video, I think, that gave me the confidence to kind of move it more publicly.
Yes.
What I do. And I work with RNA Collaborations, and they have done so many inspirational videos as well.
I think there's some previous guests have had films done by those as well.
Yeah, they're an amazing team, and I'm so glad that I did that. It was brilliant.
Yeah, well worth it. And so you've just been doing some workshops as well, I believe.
Yes, so we're mid-summer holidays, so it's been a bit crazy, and I'm having a week of solid work while my children are in Cornwall with their father. Yes, so I did an experimental patchwork workshop on Saturday, all at Newbury Arts, which is an amazing arts centre in Cirencester in Gloucestershire.
Right.
And then they asked me to activate their banner 100 Years of Protest exhibition. Oh. So it was amazing. They've got like original suffragette banners hanging. And this exhibition is going on till October. And I'm doing a series of workshops, banner making workshops that are drop-in and free. And it's amazing. And I've just taken lots of, again, sort of using upcycled fabric, taken all my fabric in, and we've got the sewing machines out and using templates and just kind of writing slogans and words and a lot of positive affirmation on fabric, which has been really good.
Oh, that sounds wonderful. And we were just chatting before we kind of hit the record button about the stitchery story I did with Fenella about the processions project, and that was all about getting people to make banners and so on. So I'm glad to see that kind of activities going on. It's not something that's just been forgotten about either, so yeah. Lovely.
It's wonderful. But I couldn't believe, I've been working in textiles for like 20 years and I'd never made anything like that with letters on it. And it's quite simple and amazing. And seeing the choices that people made, putting fabrics together and unexpectedly working brilliantly as well. And just, all the smiles there's a lot of children doing that workshop, and the smiles on their faces, seeing them having made a thing, but tiring.
Yes.
Always tiring doing workshops, especially when you don't know how many people to expect.
Yes.
Yesterday morning, I had about 11 people come in all at the same time, and I was like, whoa. But I never want to turn anyone away.
Oh, sounds absolutely wonderful. So in terms of getting interested in textile design and all the kind of craft and just all the textile stuff you're doing, how did you get started with all of this, Jayne? Who taught you? What did you do?
I had an amazing teacher at school who just taught me how to use a sewing machine creatively, basically, when I was about 14.
Yeah.
And, it's just, I think that's why I like teaching now. It's just so important, teaching, isn't it? It can change someone's life completely.
Yes.
And she's still my friend now. She's in her 80s and she's fantastic. She still plays tennis, still totally inspiring. And we kind of teach each other now. So she taught me, I was actually going to go to university to do history.
Right.
But I just, on the way, I was like, I can't do this to my dad. And I was just like, I need to go and do textiles because it's where my heart is. And he was like, right, I'm going to take you to the local art college. If they take you, you're going. Deal? And I was like, okay, deal. And I got accepted onto the BTEC fashion because actually I was first year of GCSEs.
Right.
And I don't think anyone was really kind of knowing what they were doing at that point.
Yeah.
And everyone in my year failed their art. So I couldn't go and do art foundation. So, but I mean, that kind of then led me on to doing fashion and again, playing on a sewing machine and then my friends were like, we're going to go and have a look at these textile courses. I was like, textiles? What? Went with them for a day trip, went to visit Loughborough and was like, it blew my mind. I was like, this is amazing. I want to do this. So I applied and I got in, which was fantastic.
Brilliant.
Although I did nearly get kicked out in the first year because it was art again. And I'm just not a great drawer. I think my dad's an engineer and I love creating fabrics. I like a lot of stripes and a lot of checks and I do a lot of cheating and I use florals that are already in fabrics. And, because I get so many people, I think in my film, I kind of say that, people go, I can't draw, I can't do this.
Yeah.
It's rubbish. You can be incredibly creative without being able to draw perfectly.
And that's absolutely marvellous with the approach that you take. As you say, that's a real major feature of that. You don't have to be able to draw because you're not trying to create a realistic bird or anything. It's
exactly
creating
you can chop a bird out of an old silk scarf. It's fine. Oh, that sounds terrible, doesn't it? I'm a fraud.
Oh, wait till my traditional embroidery friends hear that.
Oh, no. I'll never work again.
No, but it's really, really important because sometimes I sit there thinking, oh, well, what I'm trying to do, it can't come out of my pen because I'm I'm good at diagrams, I'm a computer programmer at heart. I can do diagrams, but when it comes to really drawing, no, I'm just.
But often in a workshop, I'll just go, let's go to the computer and Google bird silhouette. Yes. Just so that we get, a template to work from. And then you can be incredibly creative within that, with a plique and lots of things,
Yes. Again, that's a good idea, isn't it? Yeah. So
exactly.
Yeah. No, I love that approach that you don't have to be good at drawing. Fantastic. Okay, so you've gone through the courses at Loughborough and then you've done your masters in fashion. Where do you get your inspiration from, Jayne?
It's keeping your eyes open all the time, isn't it? It hits you. I mean, I quite often get inspired from doing workshops actually and seeing how people interpret what the techniques that I'm showing them. But generally I make a lot of mood boards. I keep an eye on Pinterest all the time, get lost down Instagram tunnels.
Yes.
Recently, I was just in an Instagram kind of half an hour of going through lots of different things. I found the hashtag crumb quilting and I was like, I hadn't actually heard of that. No. So then I started, then I went on YouTube and looked at it. It's amazing, and then just try new techniques all the time. But really for my fashion work, you've got to be quite on it. I read Vogue, I read all the fashion magazines, I look at all the shows, it's kind of keeping and looking at what art exhibitions are on at the moment and what the general sort of feeling is. Sometimes I feel really bad that I'll like something this year that I didn't like last year because it feels right, on trends and things that are sort of happening. So I think I forget how many layers go into my work, thinking about what colours are current at the moment, what fabrics are, what proportions look right at the moment, all those things. So I constantly kind of change my walls and change the mood boards that are on there and just keep tearing things out, pinning things up, keep obviously mood boards on Pinterest as well. And that shows you who you are in a way. I think some people can quite get lost and think, I don't know what to do.
Yes.
And I quite often say to people, if you collect images and ideas that you like and you gather them together, be it digitally or on a board, you'll soon start to see a pattern and you'll start to see your style. And I think that's really interesting to do, especially if I'm writing a book and it also keeps me focused and reined in on what I'm doing. And I'm not very good at staying focused, to be honest. I do go off, I'll quite often write down the list that I'm going to do that day. And as soon as I start actually creating, I'm like, oh, that, or a little bit of fabric will have fallen on the mess inspires me, fabric's falling on the floor on top of something unexpected. And I'm like, wow, that works really well together. Actually, I'm going to layer that on top of that and chop it up. And, so it's everywhere. I think it's a way of life, isn't it?
Yeah, I'm with you on the Instagram rabbit hole thing.
Yes. It's amazing. I mean,
half an hour's disappeared. How did that happen?
We were lamenting the other day about, when we were at college, we didn't have any of those things.
No.
The magazines that were on the shelves were our inspiration. That was it.
That was it. Yes.
Now we can have somebody's that's not even waiting for a magazine to come out. It's just completely current. What's going on the internet. So yeah, but sort of also just staying true to your style. You can't do everything,
Yes.
So I mean, at the moment I have a weave agent, so a lot of my work is kind of, I call it like weaving on a sewing machine.
Yes.
So I'm kind of creating inspirations for weaves but with stitch, and that's quite inspiring, and just kind of just exploring different things. But I am really mostly inspired by the fabrics that I find.
Yes, because you said there you've got lots of vintage ones as well, haven't you? Looking at fabric.
So I remember once speaking to my agent. I was like, "Okay, which direction do you want me to go in? For this season?" They're like, "It doesn't matter, Jayne. We can tell you, but it will depend what you find when you go out hunting."
Yeah,
and it's true. It's kind of, it's just inspired by the fabric that I have, and sort of delving into my kind of wardrobe of techniques to kind of decide how I'm going to use that fabric.
Yes. Now, just as an aside, a weave agent. Now, who would have thought that such a thing existed? This is just an endless box of delights speaking to people on this podcast. I find out all these things that I don't need to know about at all, but, a weave agent, what on earth is one of them?
I mean, a lot of agents specialize in printed textiles, and they will give the digital files over of the designs that they sell. And this particular agent that I have, they do just amazing weaves, and they actually produce their own weaves as well. But they have textile embroiderers working for them as well to sort of just expand what they do, and just the selling of ideas. So it's quite, because quite often embroidery is transposed. There's only a limited amount of people that could actually make something that I've done literally.
Yes.
Like Chanel or the ateliers or whatever.
Yes.
So quite often I will sell something and it will be transposed into a print, or or a weave, or just used as an idea for colour or for texture.
No, it's just quite fascinating, is all of that.
I know. It's something that a lot of people don't really know happens. All these people within fashion and interiors working behind the scenes.
Yes.
Like trend forecasters who are at the very beginning of things, who are thinking about trends way ahead, that then textile designers use for inspiration, and it just goes on.
Yeah, it's a real fascinating glimpse into all of that, Jayne. Thank you very much for that.
It's okay.
Quickly on techniques then, you've gone through your recipe of your fabric recipes, particular technique that you do like above all else. Obviously you use a massive range, don't you, to come up with the range of styles and patterns and ideas that you do come up with.
I think it's always machine embroidery, whether it's straight stitch or free machining. I always think of that. I even use it as my glue. When my kids are like writing a book, they're kind of like, "Mummy, can you put these pages together for me?" And I just kind of sew them up. It's like, that is my tool, that I've always used. So and just using that creatively. But I kind of had this idea recently where I thought maybe in my workshop, fabric recipe ideas, that I'd have like flashcards, and I kind of like go, and you have to pick two. So you have fraying with, machine embroidery, and you have to like do something with that. It's quite exciting. But it's mixing things together unexpectedly. And also, if you do patchwork, using the back of the patchwork instead of the front. And quite often the back of my embroideries will look far more exciting than the front. Or even just cutting them, so you use some of the front and some of the back. It's just constant playing, and there's always something to find if you keep your mind open. Yeah.
No, that's a brilliant way of looking at it. I think I can, after watching your film, I can just imagine you in your studios. It's like,
exactly.
I'm going to do this now. Look at this one.
But it is, unfortunately, it's a bit of a slow train running getting up to that stage. I'm really rubbish at doing it during school hours. I'm always right in it at like 2:00, and I'm like, oh, I've got to stop now. I try and find days when I've got like a whole day to sort of do it and sort of get into it mid-afternoon and carry on working till midnight.
Yeah, so that's when you're we all have our rhythm, don't we, of when we can
I'm
start to
such a
create.
night
Yeah.
owl, which really doesn't work with having children.
Children on your own. No, it's hard work, isn't it?
Yes, exactly.
What would you say with all of this? Have you got a high point creativity journey so far? Anything that you could share with us there, Jayne? I'm sure you must have.
Yes. Well, there's lots, I suppose.
Yeah.
I mean, it was lovely when I definitely saw the seed of my idea on the Chanel catwalk.
Yeah.
That
Wow.
was amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I think this probably be a low point, but I used to have a label called Salvage, which I ran alongside with my friend, and we upcycled garments and we were selling them in boutiques in Knightsbridge and Covent Garden.
Oh, yeah.
And actually I had a label before that as well, where I used to sell next to Alexander McQueen in the very younger days.
Yeah.
But yeah, there was one day where I was in Oxford Street and I went into Topshop and they'd ripped me off. And I was like, it was this mixed thing of like, wow, I've arrived. I've been ripped off by a major store. I was making each and every one of those, and I've had quite a bad back from making them all. What I've realized as I've got older is I'm not a production person.
Yes.
I don't want to make the same. Although I was making every one individually and choosing the colors, I just kind of thought, I don't want to do this, and I don't want to do production. So yeah, I kind of now just focus on teaching and producing ideas and producing ideas when I'm teaching.
Yeah.
But also when I changed agent, because my agent stopped selling a couple of years ago now, and they sent me back an archive of swatches that were holding. And I thought, what am I going to do with this? And I actually then spread them all out and I kind of started putting them together. So I started cutting out some of the floral ones and putting them onto the like more linear backgrounds. And then I went to see somebody in a local gallery and I said, look, I sort of showed her on Instagram. I was like, this is what I've been making. What do you think about an exhibition? And I had a sort of one-man show at her gallery, which was amazing.
Oh, that's interesting.
I loved that.
Yeah.
So I'm not quite sure that that's the direction my work should take, being behind a frame. I'm kind of, I suppose this is probably a further question, but I think now I quite like to do more collaborative things, different things that my work goes on to a finished piece, but somebody else is doing that. Do you know what I mean?
Yes, because it's very tactile, isn't it?
Behind glass, I think, is really tricky because people don't know it is fabric.
Yes.
Yeah,
yes.
And always you want to touch it. You can tell a textile person, can't you?
Yeah, your fingers start moving towards it.
And then it says, oh, don't touch. And you're like, oh, sorry. But also, maybe even go, because you're constantly like looking at what you've done in the past and what you really enjoy. But also, that upcycling, one-of-a-kind piecing of fashion is also something that's kind of bubbling under in my studio. Even if it will be just for me. At the moment, on the dummy in the corner I'm looking at, I've got a skirt that's hoiked up into will become a dress, and just mixing fabrics around. I don't know whether I will do that, but there's just constantly like just playing.
Yeah.
It'll inform something else. And
exactly. And do you feel as if you're at a bit of a turning point almost, where you I'm getting that kind of feeling of, I've been happy with what I'm doing. Maybe I need to kind of either consolidate.
I think there might be a little rebrand coming up in the future. I'm in talks, but it's kind of, it's all still there. I just still want to continue with vintage upcycling and making that couture. And but it's constantly a balance, within your family life and how you do things. So we'll see. There's no rush, but I'm happy with where I am. But I think you've constantly got to be rethinking and redeveloping and just moving.
Oh, that's absolutely true. That's absolutely true. I mean, there's not a week goes by when I'm not having a conversation with some of my online friends or whatever else saying, well, I'm thinking of trying this, or I might do that, or I'm going to stop doing that, or I'm going to move into this. And it is
exciting, doesn't it?
Oh, absolutely. Otherwise, you'd just be bored to death, wouldn't you?
Don't want to stagnate anywhere. So just keep, moving things around. It's good. The house is constantly being moved around as well. It's terrible.
Oh, I'm
Yeah.
not even looking at mine at the moment. It's like, oh God,
Well, it's the
at
only
some
way I
point.
can. It's like creative cleaning. I just move it all around, so so it makes cleaning a bit more interesting when I do it.
Oh no, not very well. I was doing my paperwork and stuff, and I hate doing that, like we all do. And I said, right, I'm going to refile everything. So everything was
Oh,
out, piled up. And then you can't open your door in your office, can you? Because otherwise the wind blows it all away. And so it was these piles were getting moved around, and then I was doing a Facebook Live with somebody for some reason. I thought, oh God, the view at the back of my office is a right mess. There's
oh.
piles everywhere. So I moved them, put them all into big bags, and we put them all down the the hallway. And then my son was going, Mum, there's all these bags of paperwork all cluttering up the hallway. This is rich from a 14-year-old, you know. I said, oh, well, never
You
mind.
can recycle them all.
I know. So just leave it all alone. Then they moved into piling up in the corner of the dining room now, you know. So at least they're out of the way. And I can't do my stretches on a morning now because there's piles of stuff. Oh dear. Never mind.
Yeah, that happens a lot to me as well. Just shifting the boxes around and going. Yeah. Takes a long time though to declutter.
So we were looking at, normally we have someone's got something a bit amusing to share with us about when something possibly didn't go quite as planned, and you could even maybe say it was a bit of a disaster. Slightly funny that you can share with us all to liven up the morning.
We were talking about this earlier, weren't we? We were saying that, I mean, it was kind of a bit centered around when I taught Kirsty Alsop how to needle felt on her show. It was like 7 years ago now. I know this because my son's 7 and in November, and he was in my belly at the time. So, oh gosh, actually, and you know, and it was this opportunity to be on TV, and that was amazing. So I was like, yes, you know, I'd love to do that. And they came around and they screen tested me, and I was so excited about it. But you know, I had a 2-year-old at the time as well, so it was just like, you know, just getting out the door was an achievement. I hadn't brushed my hair or put any makeup on, thinking, oh, it's okay, you know, the TV crew will do that for me. And I get there and they didn't, and we just started recording. And also they put me in a conservatory, which was just like really hot. So I'm there on TV looking incredibly red and hot and pregnant. And then I did the Christmas show. So basically, because I wanted to go and see Meadowgate, I was just like, oh, we're going to go down to Devon. And that was like 5 weeks off giving birth. So we got there and there was the chairs by the fireplace. And I was like, great. You know, they haven't put the fire on. It was going to be fine this time. I'm going to look okay, despite the fact that I'm huge. So I sat down, they lit the fire. And again, I was on TV looking very hot. And then I think we said, then they aired the show the week that I was giving birth. So I had to take the shop down on my website. So that was that. So an incredible experience, but I've only watched it once.
Oh dear. And these things come along, don't you? And I suppose it's like, well, I need to take advantage of it, but then you're not necessarily in the right position in your life to be able to take advantage of it. As you say, you know, you're there giving birth and your shop's going crazy.
I know, exactly. I just think that was the same as the workshops. You know, you do it for the process, do it for the experience. You know, I'm so glad that I did it. You know, like when I got asked to write my first book, I was like, I can't do that. Mm-hmm. But it's like, you know, just do it, just jump off the cliff. Go for it.
Right, brilliant. And in line with that, now we usually have a bit of a joke. Those of us who do the embroidery, it can take forever. So we sometimes have a bit of a laugh if anybody has any of those dreaded unfinished objects lurking around in backs of cupboards anywhere. But I should imagine you just cut them all up, don't you? And do something else with them.
Yep, I do. And I'm too impatient to start anything big, basically. My unfinished stuff is my massive archive of fabric. I think, you know, when you have a massive fabric stash, you're constantly thinking, oh, when am I ever going to use all this? What things am I going to make from it? So that was actually what prompted me to start doing workshops. And then I get a little bit kind of precious about it all because it's, you know, it's beautiful. It's
too nice to use, isn't it?
And recently I've just been thinking, I'm just going to use it. I'm just going to take it all with me and share it. And it's like every piece of fabric's got a little story to it, where I found it, what I used it for, all those things. So, and it's quite emotional seeing other people use it, but lovely at the same time, because I think nothing's nicer than going to a workshop and getting your hands on somebody else's fabric stash. That's awesome.
It's always a treat, isn't it? Ooh.
But what I have got actually is a whole cupboard full of cashmere jumpers left over from when I was doing the upcycle cardigans and things that I did. Ooh. And actually, then, you know, I was talking about the crumb quilting thing. I'm going to have a go at that and see whether I can crumb quilt my cashmere together before the moths get it. Because that's also the other thing, isn't it? Moths,
Yeah,
you're just like, oh, I've got to use this stuff. And I also have about 3 suitcases full of archived fabric samples. Yes, you completely guessed it. I chop them. I go through them, see which ones sing out to me for this season and go, suddenly this looks fresh or new, and then take that out and then I'll chop it into lines and put it on something else, and they get reused and reused. It's really rare that I throw anything away in the studio. It just keeps getting chopped up.
Oh, that's absolutely brilliant. Well, there we are then. So that's the secret, isn't it? Is to do things that are not large projects and to just chop it all up anyway.
Or I quite like when we were doing the crumb quilting thing, making smaller things, but then making them into something large.
Yes.
So you're breaking it sort of down, almost like when I do, going back to doing the cleaning, I quite often pick up 5 things and then put them back, 5 things and then put them back. So it doesn't feel huge.
Yes.
I've got to clean the whole house, or I've got to make this entire quilt. You could just make sections of it. I'm always in awe of people that have lots of patience or embark on huge projects. That's amazing too. But maybe it'll resonate with some other people that are like, oh.
Well, I think that's it. Everybody's got their own amazing skills and none are better or worse than anybody else. And nobody's approach is better or worse than anybody else. And that's why I just love doing this, is just chatting to everybody. Whatever anybody does is fantastic. And I love it. And it
also
stands there.
Recognizing and accepting who
absolutely.
you are and how you like to work. And not giving into that, just kind of just going, this is what I like doing, and just do that. Obviously sometimes push yourself a bit, but if there's a way of working that you like doing, then work that way. It's lovely. Textiles is to be enjoyed, isn't it?
And that's the key thing. Yes, we don't need to be agonising over things, do we? We've got enough hassle in our lives other than that. So we don't need to make our textiles hassly as well, do we?
Especially when it's like kind of your therapy and you kind of just go in and it's almost like meditation sometimes, that wombling thing where you just get lost and you forget time. And that's so good for you, isn't it?
Oh, it is brilliant, yeah. Or you find yourself talking about patterns. Is it just me? But if I'm somewhere and there's like maybe a patterned carpet or I'll find myself staring at the pattern and following it round with my eyes. And Susan, stop it! You're staring at patterns. Stop it!
Lovely. Quick, get your phone out, take a picture of it, record it. If it's drawing you,
stop staring at things and get on with what you're supposed to be doing. Anyway, in terms of getting on with what's supposed to be doing, I know you're very impatient, so maybe the question about planning might not be quite your thing. I was just kind of wondering how you do manage to jiggle things around.
I always think that I should have it on the computer and sort it. I've got a calendar that's scribbled all over and I quite often take a picture of it and then I have to expand it on my phone to have a look and see what's going on. But I think I just kind of work that sort of week by week. You do have to plan things that, in sort of years in advance. And my kids are getting older now, so you're able to think a bit straighter. And but I just write down lists, constant lists everywhere, pin them up on the wall, this week's list, this month's list, and having planners around in the studio.
Well, that's it. I suppose when you're working on collections, there will be deadlines inherent in that because obviously they're front loading into the industry, and so there's a whole train of things need to happen, isn't there?
Thank goodness for iPhones, really, because somehow they know and they ping up things and go, "You're doing this." Yes. I have to get things, into the post. A lot of the time, there's not too bad. This recently on social media, the Handmade Fair had said it's 3 weeks until the Handmade Fair, and I was like, seriously? It's 3 weeks until September
already.
I thought that was 3 months ago. 3 months away. Time comes around so quickly, doesn't it?
It absolutely does, yeah.
But I also think that social media makes you think about things a lot as well because you've constantly got to plan things and plan the advertising for those things. So
yes, that's very true. It does. You do need to look ahead to be able to promote things, to get people there and bums on seats, basically, isn't it, as well, and a lot of things. So in terms of any future plans or projects that you'd like to share with us today, Jayne, maybe where we can see you, kind of booked in other workshops or anything you can share with us as we kind of come to the end today.
So in 3 weeks' time, I'm going to be at the Handmade Fair at Hampton Court.
Oh, lovely.
So I'm running workshops in the Janome tent. Janome are just lovely to work with and they help me so much. So I'm going to be running workshops in machine embroidery, making lace bowls, which is always really fun because, I quite often have people who are completely new to machine embroidery and we're using water solubles and it's like magic, And we make these things really, really quickly. And it's kind of right, just start and just stitch, get them all driving their sewing machines really quickly. And then in the afternoon, and I'm also publicising a book that I've written with Rachel Henderson called Boho Felt Crafts. So we will be doing book signings there, and I'll be doing designing with felt fabric in the afternoon in the Janome tent on the machines as well. And then I've got lots of workshops coming up at Newbury Arts, and I'm going to be activating the exhibition, still the banner exhibition that we talked about earlier. And obviously I'm just still working all the time on new ideas for the fabrics that I make for my agents. So,
yeah. Wow, well, that is a lot of things on the go. Now, are those workshops all pre-booked, or can we still just turn up if we're there at Hampton Court?
I think there will be spaces if you turn up on the day. They always leave some spaces there, but have a look at my website and you'll see all the workshop dates to see everything that I'm doing.
Fantastic. Right, Jayne, well, do you know what? It's been absolutely lovely sharing your passion and excitement for textile design and all the other things that you're up to at the moment. It's that's certainly a great deal on the go. It's been lovely finding out more about you. And again, if everybody wants to follow you, off the go to your website, jayneemerson.co.uk. That's Jayne with a Y. And we can find you on Facebook and Instagram. And all of those links, plus examples of Jayne's lovely innovative textiles, are on the Stitchery Stories episode for Jayne as well. And there we are. Thank you very much. All I can say is, at the time of recording, we've got less than 2 weeks left before the kids are back at school. Oh, aren't we awful? Right. Thank you so much, Jayne. It's been an absolute pleasure speaking to you. Thank you.
Wonderful. Bye, Susan.
Cheers. Bye. If you liked this episode and want to hear more, then please join the Stitchery Stories fan club so you can get an email when a new episode is released. It's a quick and easy way of listening and of keeping up with any news and offers from our lovely guests. Please visit stitcherystories.com to join the fan club. Of course, if you have iTunes, then subscribe there to automatically get new episodes. And why not leave us a review and rating whilst you are there? So that is the end of our Stitchery story for today. So keep stitching, keep smiling, and keep creating your very own Stitchery stories.